What's going on, everybody? Checkerboard here, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in to check out my Marksman Hunter PvP guide for patch 7.1.5. In this guide, we're just going to really quick, we're going to buzz through the talents, we're going to buzz through the honor talents, and just really quick go over the, the different abilities and the priority or rotation you want to roll with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? So what we're going to do today is we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this guide. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. But as a marksman hunter, you got your primary abilities are going to be these top three here, and proccing off of your hunter's mark, timing your cooldowns. Basically, this is just going to be a quick but comprehensive guide. So it'll give you a good rundown of what you should be doing, and as well as what you should be staying away from. So basically, what we got here on your first tier, level 15 talent, Lone Wolf. Stay away from it entirely for PvP, in my opinion. It's just, without your pet, you're not as strong, and I don't see how the 18% damage buff could possibly outweigh the benefits of having your pet with you. So like I said, in my opinion, this just isn't worth it. Careful aim and steady focus are really a matter of choice. Careful aim is good if you pair it with initiation, because that'll give you not 20 or 30 but 50 full percent of increased critical strike chance on targets at or above 80% HP. So the beautiful thing about careful aim now, though, is those crits that you dish out basically apply a dot on the target that 30% of the critical strike damage they take additionally for 8 seconds. So if you manage to land some juicy crits on a target within that, that 20% window, if you can land that, and it'll carry over once the 80%, granted, those crits, that critical strike chance won't be there anymore once you get past that 80% mark, but the dot will still stay, and it'll stay for the entirety of 8 seconds. So definitely worth it, in my opinion, if you're going to go with both of those. Not one or the other, though. One or the other, just they have to go together, in my opinion. I personally go with steady focus, and the reason being is, you're going to be using arcane shot. That's going to be your biggest filler, and you're going to be running that to get your focus back anyway. So you might as well get that 25% increased focus regen. So that's, in my opinion, your bread and butter here. Now, typically, you could go with any of these. These are really just going to be a matter of play style. Um, they are situational though, and the reason I say that is because some you're gonna some matches, some compositions, you're gonna want to put as many as much dot pressure as you can. So Black Arrow is good for that. With a 13-second cooldown, it basically, well, almost 14. So you figure a few seconds go by and you can apply it again after it falls off. But it can be dispelled, so it may not last it may not last the entire time. So essentially, you're going to want to um, choose your pick your spots here. But true aim is good, primarily because if you're going to be sticking to one target, just riding one target the entire game, then yeah, it's good to have that additional 20% damage from your arcane and your aim shots. So that's in that situation, I would go with true aim. If you're going to be ping ponging and spreading pressure, I'd go with either lock and load or black arrow. You get them instant focus free aim shots, and it procs relatively decent amount of time. Level 45 talent. Moving along here, we're gonna go with post haste. These two are just junk. Far Strider, yeah, you get it resets the remaining cooldown and disengage, but if you can't get out of a route, your disengage is worthless anyway. So, that 15% chance on your crits really isn't going to help you out if you can't move. Trailblazer, when are you not going to be doing damage? I mean, your speed's increased when you haven't attacked. So if you're trying to kite somebody, it's not bad, but still, 30% really, that's all that's going to do is put you at regular movement speed with somebody that's got a 30% slow on you. So it's going to negate the 30% slow, but you're still moving at the same speed as the person that's kicking the crap out of you. So it's kind of a moot point. Level 60 talent, explosive shot. I wouldn't really go with that unless you've got that attention to detail where you can keep an eye on the when you fire it and then when you activate it, because you have to trigger it, you have to explode it on your own. It doesn't hit a target and go off on its own. So this, I mean, it's kind of fun to play with. It does a decent amount of damage. Half a mil on it hits all targets for that. But if it's very easy to overshoot it or undershoot it. So I don't really like that much. I go with either Sentinel or Patient Sniper depending on the circumstances. Sentinel's good for BGs or World PvP because you can cover an entire area and hit anything with a Hunter's Mark, which anything with a Hunter's Mark, you're going to get your marked shot to proc, you're going to get everything vulnerable, and if you're able to land a piercing shot on everything, then that's a really, really big chunk of AoE, and I'll demonstrate why this is so big later on down the line. Trick Shot doesn't seem like a strong AoE in my opinion. It only hits for 30% of the damage to all the vulnerable targets, and if you've only got a couple of the targets in that area vulnerable, then it really doesn't cut the mustard as far as I'm concerned. But in any case, I'll cover this more when I get to it. On the level 75 tier, you got this situational. If you're running, like twos or whatever, or you're running around ganking, then I would go with camouflage because it's a nice heal, and it gets you out of dodge where you can't be spotted unless you got like a demon hunter with spectral sight or whatever trying to find you, and that's different. But these two are good for CCs / peel, whatever it is that you got to do with it. You're gonna run binding shot when your healer is gonna be getting trained and you're not running with someone that's got a ton of stuns. So I mean, if you got a rogue or something with you, then you're not gonna want to go with binding shot. So Wyvern Stain or Camo is gonna be your deal. But again, situational. Just kind of use your head. You know what I mean? Level 90 tier is your these are your damage abilities. You got your volley. I don't like it because it's only 3 focus, and you're getting that regen from steady focus, but it's got a really good chance to bust nearby CC. So I wouldn't roll with it unless you're really good at controlling when you could use it and timing it right. But same with Barrage. Barrage is even worse because it just sprays everywhere. It's a nightmare. This is a CC Breaker's dream. Um, Murder of Crows is good because it can't be dispelled. 1.5 million damage and more on a target over the course of 15 seconds. And, then, another 33 more, you can pop it back up again. So it's nice. Excuse me. So Murder of Crows I would go with. Best part about it is if the target dies with Murder of Crows on them, it resets. So it's really cool. Last but not least, as I was going into before, started to get a little ahead of myself, but the reason that I'm going with Piercing Shot at this point instead of Sidewinders is because Sidewinders just doesn't do what it was doing before, and Trick Shot, as I said, just not a very good AoE. Piercing Shot is a phenomenal single target burst, and it can dish out a massive chunk of damage. But also, it can do a ton of AoE as well if you get it right. So, and like I said, I'll demonstrate that here in a moment. So we're just really quick going to go buzz through the honor talents here. You got your three, the three at the top here. Personally, I stay away from these. Only reason is because, with Relentless, yeah, you got 20% reduction, so that third CC in the same category isn't going to land. So the most that you can be CC'd for at any given time in a specific in a school that shares the same diminishing returns is going to be like maybe an 8-9 second window at the most, which even that it can that can make or break a match. So I stay away from this here. Adaptation, I don't want RNG depicting when I get out, or not RNG really, but if your enemy teammates realize you're running adaptation, then they every minute they can bait it with a CC that they intend for one of your off DPS and get you to and get you to blow your auto trinket, and then they can just lock you down for an entire cycle. So I don't like that. It's nice for some people, but I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. I like to be in control of when I get out and what I get out of. So I go with this personally. I go with Gladiator's Medallion. Second tier, focused fire. You're rarely not going to be getting attacked, so this is just kind of useless in my opinion. As I stated earlier, initiation is very good if you roll it with careful aim. Not quite as good by itself, but still better than careful aim by itself, by 10%. So, in any case, quick shots personally I think is going to be your selection of choice here. That 6% haste is really clutch when it comes to firing off those your wind burst and your aim shots when they're not proccing and stuff like that. So this is my personal preference. This third tier is going to be situational. It's going to really depend on what you're going up against. If you're going up against dot classes, warlock, shadow priest, etc., then dragon scale armor is going to reduce the damage you're taking by 20%. Let's face it, you're a hunter, you're going to get focused. It just, people don't like us, especially casters. Cat-like reflexes. This is if your melee is strong on the with the team you're facing, then you're going to want to go with that. But depending on the circumstances, you may just want to go with survival tactics. You get your feign death removes harmful magical effects. It also removes slows. So if you got a root or a slow from like a frost mage or something like that, you can drop that and it'll fall off you. And the damage reduction is reduced by 99%. So that's always good too. The fourth tier, Viper Sting is useless in my opinion, especially if you go with something like a Mortal Strike pet. So if you get a pet that gives a Mortal Strike debuff, like a Carrion Bird, for example, the Bloody Screech, they get a they do this here. So this is kind of a wasted global cooldown in my opinion. Scorpion Sting or Spider Sting. If you want to silence the target for 4 seconds, then if you got a mage casted at you, you catch them with this as they're about to launch a frostbolt. shuts them up for 4 seconds, which is really nice. Scorpion Sting, really good for melee, cuts their crit chance in half for 8 seconds, so that's pretty good. This tier is going to be situational. I wouldn't really roll with TNT. I mean, Bursting Shot isn't a very long cooldown anyway. It's only 25 seconds. It cuts it to 15. But Scatter Shot's really nice because you can basically rotate these. You can run Scatter, and then if you have to, Bursting Shot. This just kind of... The reason I don't like Bursting Shot as much and why I'm not worried about it being off cooldown as often is because if you're even tilted like slightly the wrong way, you're gonna hit air. So that's a brick. Scatter Shot, that's targeted at them. So the days of scatter trapping are back, especially if you want this here. And now that we got our traps back, it's even better. You can also run with the high explosive trap. So you know, if you want to knock back or knock stuff off an edge or something like that, you know, if you're one of those troll hunters that like to hang out up at the lumber mill or like to hang out near the flag in you know, Eye of the Storm, that explosive trap's back, get to knock stuff around, pretty cool. So I can't really do anything to show you Sniper Shot, but in my opinion, True Shot Master is better anyway. You get that 30% reduction on your main, you know, on your big burst cooldown, and you get 100% focus back after. So, you know, if you want to fire off a bunch of aim shots or whatever, you know, just completely dump your focus and then pop your cooldowns, then by all means, this is perfect for it. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and give you guys a real quick demonstration of why I run with Piercing Shot and why I'm spec'd the way I am. So, essentially what you're going to do here is you're going to sick your, you know, you're going to start your rotation with, you know, just your normal, you know, setup here. So, you know, you blow your cooldowns or whatever. Now, here's where things get pretty juicy. Okay, as you can see, I'm lit up here with Marked Shot, so I fire that off. Now, here we are with the debuff here. So now what I can do, you let that run down to a split second here, and then you fire that off. And look at the damage it dished out. 1.3 million damage. And that wasn't even a crit. That was just one target, and it hit for 1.3 mil. That's just gross. Didn't even crit. So, if it were to crit, obviously it's going to do about double. If there's anything in its path, it's going to hit all that too. So, it's definitely worth going with Marked Shot. You know, it fits in well with your rotation. Only costs between 20 to 100 focus. And like I said, you can, you know, you couple it with True Shot, you're gonna get that 40% haste, and you're gonna get the damage increase from your weapon. So you get your reduction here. So that's 30 seconds off of True Shot there, and then another 30 from your honor talent. It makes it so much easier to burst stuff down that way. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, guys. I want to thank you all very much for taking the time out to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to toss it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.